Here we are looking at the house where Jane Austen spent her last moments. This window here, we have just been told, is where she spent the last few months of her life. Right now we are at Winchester Cathedral. You can see where the choir sits here. Today they are doing organ tuning though, so it's a little difficult to get sound in the video during the actual place. But right here we are in the center of the cathedral where you can also see the altar with all these beautiful sculptures. Here's a video that you can see on the outside of Winchester Chapel. From out here you cannot hear the organ, so I can tell you a little bit about the inside that we just saw. Right here are the kaleidoscope stained glass windows. They got broken during the bombings, and to repair them, all the pieces were just mixed together and then recast into stained glass windows. Inside we also saw Jane Austen's final resting place, as well as some other things such as the Winchester Bible, and just the inside of another great cathedral. We have just arrived in Hampshire. Looking here you can see the grounds outside Chawton House. This is where Jane Austen lived for a short time with her sister and her mother after their father had died. This left the women kind of dependent on the rest of their family to support them. Edward was the one who bought this house for the ladies to live in. Jane and Cassandra didn't live here for as long because due to Jane's illness they then moved to the Winchester house that we saw earlier today. But here's where Jane Austen did some of her writing, such as Persuasion and Emma, and she was very happy here, especially compared to Bath where she didn't do writing at all. So after looking inside we'll get some more opinions about Jane Austen's life here. Now I am upstairs in the Chawton house walking down the hallway. You can see many different rooms. The one here Jane and Cassandra used to share. This was their bedroom. Heading on downstairs, although there are several more rooms upstairs, there are some important belongings of Jane's downstairs to see. In this next room, in the corner over here, you can see the writing desk that Jane used to sit at when she produced some of her works, such as Persuasion and Emma. It was said that she really didn't want anyone to see her writing, so she reinforced the hope that the hinge on the door would never be oiled. That way she could always hear it creaking when someone was about to come into the room. You can see a few other areas of the house here. This was Edward as a young boy. He is the one who paid for Jane and her mother and sister to live in this house. Over here you can see some of the music. Besides writing, Jane also was an avid piano player. She would practice every morning before breakfast, and you can see an example of a piano like the one she might have played on here in the living room. And this is the room that her and her sisters would have spent, or her and Cassandra, as well as a few of the other women visitors, would have spent their time in, retiring in after dinner in the evenings. So heading back outside, you can get a look at the gardens. Jane also loved to spend a lot of time outside. You can see a lot of the plants as they've tried to recreate the gardens that Jane wrote about in letters or different books. She had many favorite flowers that they've tried to replant here. So you can imagine what kind of a peaceful scene it would have been for many of her writings. So Michelle and I are just sitting here talking. We just came from inside the house and are now enjoying the garden around here. Michelle, what were your impressions of the house? Was there anything that stuck out to you that related to other sites we've seen or things we've read?
I thought it was really interesting just to see her house, because back at the Winchester church that we went to, they had an exhibit about Jane Austen, and that was also where she was buried, and it had said that in Chawton, this was where she was the happiest, and that she had wrote a few of her most well-known works here. So it was interesting to see the house that she lived in where she was the happiest. And in the house they had the actual writing table where she wrote all her writings, and it was really small, so it's amazing to me that she was able to do all her writing there and everything. And also, I didn't know that she was so interested in playing piano, and they had said in the house that she would practice her piano like every day after breakfast, so I found that interesting. And I also thought that like the house was a lot bigger than I had thought it would be. Like the rooms were pretty big and open, which at a lot of like the other houses that we've gone to of like authors and stuff, they're more smaller and confined, I guess. So that was all interesting to see.
It's true. It was really nice seeing the open setting that Jane
Yes,
Austen must have worked in.
exactly.
I can't even imagine working though at that smaller desk.
I know, it was like hardly any space, so I don't know how she did it every day.
Yeah, I can definitely see her source for inspiration, though. We picked a beautiful day to come, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, anyway, thank you, Michelle, and
problem.
I will talk to you later.